Welcome back. In this video, we'll be discussing the unique features of the TALSA test battery. In the last 3 videos, we gave you an overview of the theory behind the TALSA. In the next 3 videos, we will describe the TALSA test battery in detail, the unique features that set it apart from other tests of aphasia, how the TALSA assesses various aspects of language processing, and how it assesses verbal, short-term memory, and working memory. The TALSA is a diagnostic test that assesses language and verbal short-term memory in people with aphasia. It was developed at Temple University in the Eleanor M. Safran Center for Cognitive Neuroscience. The TALSA consists of 21 subtests that can be divided into 3 main areas: phonological processing, semantic processing, and verbal short-term memory. There are several unique features of the TALSA. It provides very specific diagnoses and is sensitive to all severity levels of aphasia. It can also be used to reliably test some cognitive skills in people with aphasia. We will also talk about how the TALSA is functionally relevant. One of the key features of the TALSA is that it provides a very specific diagnosis of aphasia. Typical aphasia tests simply identify the aphasia syndrome, for example, Broca's aphasia or Wernicke's aphasia, and give you a general severity rating. The TALSA, however, provides a much richer diagnosis with a detailed description of the cognitive linguistic abilities and disabilities of the patient. The figure on the right should look familiar to you. It's an illustration of the interactive activation model. This model proposes that input and output language processing proceed through different semantic and phonological levels. The TALSA can pinpoint at what level breakdowns occur and therefore show where to focus therapy goals. The TALSA also gives information on the processing characteristics of aphasia. In some cases, the problem is a slow or weak activation of the signal. In other cases, the problem is a too fast decay rate, or the patient loses the signal too quickly. Telling the difference is accomplished by comparing what happens with a 1-second or a 5-second delay between the stimulus and the response. If this seems confusing right now, don't worry. We'll get into more detail in the next video. The TALSA provides information on the effects of memory load. By memory load, we mean how much information is being held in short-term or working memory to complete a task. Memory load variations can be illustrated with sentence length. Longer sentences result in a higher memory load, and for some people with aphasia, this can be especially difficult. Another important feature of the TALSA is that it is appropriate for all severity levels of aphasia. It is sensitive to language deficits in people with very mild aphasia, whose disability may be missed on standard aphasia batteries. It also gives valuable information about people with very severe aphasia, who often are unable to complete a standard aphasia battery. And, of course, the TALSA is an excellent diagnostic tool for everyone in between. The final feature of the TALSA that sets it apart from other tests is that it can be used to assess cognition in people with aphasia, in particular, short-term and working memory. Standard tests of cognition require intact expressive language skills. Think of the digit repetition span in which a patient is asked to repeat a string of numbers. This is not possible for many people with aphasia. The TALSA, on the other hand, has many subtests that require only a nonverbal pointing response. And the instructions of the TALSA are very simple, thus allowing people with comprehension deficits to participate. How does the assessment of verbal short-term memory and working memory relate to functional communication? Verbal short-term memory and working memory are core components of all language tasks. These foundational skills are necessary for everything from speaking single words, to composing sentences, to keeping up in a conversation. In this video, we talked about the unique features of the TALSA that set it apart from standard aphasia tests. In our next video, we will further explore how the TALSA assesses various aspects of language processing, and we'll show you a few examples of TALSA subtests. See you then.